Yay! Are we on? We are live, it says.
Yeah, so it says. So I'm going to check my page as I always do because I trust nothing. I trust nothing and I trust no one.
Agreed. You can't go wrong. Well,
Yeah, nothing. Things never go right. Yeah, that's sort of the thing about life. Nothing ever goes right.
you
So
can't trust
okay.
technology. You should be able to in this year, but no, you can't. Look at this,
Okay.
for example.
So, all right. So Facebook isn't lying to us. It claims we're live, and yeah. I'll tell you this. How many more videos am I going to do in my life saying, "Are we live?"
Quite a lot, yeah.
Did you like that one I did with poor Charlotte Platt, and I got knocked off the internet, and she was there doing her eyebrow thing, she said, and had to and then she gave a tour of the Orkneys until I finally got back online.
Hey, in show business, you have to just roll with
Go with it.
Yeah.
Hey, everyone's doing these interviews now. All the chat shows, they're all going all over the place. So we're kind of, on the cusp of the big thing.
You're a trendsetter.
Trendsetters. Well, welcome to everyone who is hopefully tuning in. If you haven't fallen asleep from me yakking about going on, I'm here again. This is actually the last event, not the last Facebook Live event, but the last event for the best new true crime stories, small towns. And oh, hello. And I'm joined.
I meant to grab it. Sorry, I'm very unprepared.
Don't worry about it. I'm joined by Joe Turner, who's in the UK. Hi, Joe.
Hi, how are you doing?
I was going to be funny, and I was going to play "Hey Joe" by Jimmy, but I figured, forget it. I'm not going to screw around with it.
You really think I've not heard that one before?
Oh, I know you've heard that one before, but I just think it always every time I communicate with you, I'm hearing Jimi Hendrix.
Yeah. I'll get that a lot. Yeah.
Hey, well, it's great talent,
Thanks a lot, Jimmy. Yeah. I could be, linked to other worse things, so I guess it's not too bad.
Jimi Hendrix is cool.
So yeah, it's cool. Yeah.
Oh, so how are you doing since we spoke? You came on with me for the best new true crime story, serial killers, and so you've got it. You've ensconced yourself in the small towns book. So how have you been since we last spoke?
The same, basically. My hair got longer, then it got shorter.
Yeah,
that's all that's changed. Yeah, pretty much. I've just been in my office for the past 12 months or so, and that's basically it. I've not really done a whole lot else apart from do your next book after this one as well.
Yeah. We'll mention that later. But you're in the one that comes after the next one, after the next one after the next one.
That's the one I'm not in. Yeah. I missed that one. I would have made a whole.
Yeah, I think you missed out on that. Normally, yeah. But well, I'm getting to the point I can't keep up with it anymore. Someone actually asked me, "How do you keep all these books straight?" I'm like, I really don't know, and I hope I never get Alzheimer's because that's just going to be.
Have you had anyone in all four?
Sorry. Yes, actually, I do. Anthony Ferguson is in all four.
Yeah.
Anthony was on with the serial killers book. He's the Aussie, but yeah, he's actually in 1, 2, 3, and 4. Yeah.
Okay. I thought I held the record down.
I'm sorry. I think you're missing some of my calls.
What? You call? Oh, I don't see them. I just get emails from you. I don't know where do you put them?
Oh, I sent some out to my list, and then I have it.
I did. Sorry, I'm.
You're too busy.
No, I saw them. Yeah.
You're too busy for me.
You go to my junk mail sometimes.
Oh well, thanks a lot.
I blame Hotmail. It's not my fault.
I'll remember that when I submit payments that I go in the junk mail. I'll remember that.
Sorry, Joe, left yours in the junk. Sorry, yeah. I'll keep an eye out in my junk from now on.
I'll say, Joe, that payment must have gone in the junk email or the junk mailbox or something.
Yeah, it's understandable. Okay. But I'm okay. How have you been?
Oh, I'm really just busier than I've ever been in my life. I mean, Yeah, I mean, this whole time of, I'm always productive, but it just seems like it's been really crazy productive, and so I've not noticed like a really huge change in my lifestyle with the pandemic, other than the fact that it would be very nice to be able to go say shopping and not have to like be paranoid that someone's got the plague,
Yeah, exactly. Have you been vaccinated?
Not yet, not yet. I'm trying to find a window because everyone's telling me the second vaccine, a lot of people are really sick from it. I'm like, I really don't have time to be sick, not even for 24 hours. So I'm just, waiting.
I've had my first one and it was fine. I got my second one in a few months. So
yeah, that's the one that's the killer. The second one is supposed to be the.
Yeah, okay, I'll bring it on. I've had worse. Used to disease. What can you do? Yeah.
Now I go out, like I joke about it. I go out in my hazmat suit almost. I mean, I have an N95 mask, which I'm very fortunate because I had them left over from wildfires. So I didn't take masks from any essential workers. I had them around. So I put that's the respirator one, the N95.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Yeah, like the workmen use.
Oh.
Yeah, so I have that, and now I put another mask over that, a cloth mask. I have workers' goggles that I put on, and that's how I go shopping.
You look like a plague doctor.
Yeah,
covered. But no one recognises you ever, do they? Because I've not seen about a year. She's still alive. It's her over there in the frigging plague doctor mask.
Yeah, no, seriously, a hazmat suit would probably be the next step. It's like you cover everything up.
But you've not caught COVID yet, so it obviously works.
Knock wood, I have not been sick in a really long time, and I've not had flu since I was probably 9, and I don't get a flu shot either. So it's like let's hope I'm not going to live to regret saying that. But
something's working then, so keep doing it.
Yeah, maybe it's because I'm antisocial and I avoid people.
That's the solution to everything. Just never leave the house.
Stay away from germy people and you'll be fine. You'll live to 100.
The Japanese do, yeah. It's fine. Good over there.
Oh, dear. Well, you're here today. We're going to talk about your story from this wonderful book. You wrote a story called "In the Home of the Cannibal."
Yes.
Which that title kind of gives a little bit of a hint what this is about. Before we kind of get into it a bit, what actually decided you to particularly choose this case to write about?
Well, first of all, the theme fit it quite perfectly because where it all took place, it was a very isolated area of the world, and I firmly believe that your surroundings determine your personality. Like, I think people who grow up in the countryside are going to have different outlooks and enjoyments of people who grew up in the city. I think it's just a way of life. And where this took place was really in a very far away place from civilization, really. So that was the first thing. And the second thing was that I don't know any other case in history that's like this one. I mean, I know quite a few, and there is nothing out there that's ever even come close to the bizarreness and the uniqueness of this case. It's like there's usually a killer and a victim in any case in the world, but in this one there's basically two victims, if you will. Like the killer didn't want to kill and the victim wanted to die. So it's kind of like a weird form of euthanasia in a way. And I can't name anything else in the world that's ever been like this. So I think it is the most unique true crime case in history, really.
Yeah, it's definitely a really strange one, and particularly gruesome as well. And as you remember, I actually had to have you tone it down. And the irony is that you toned it down, but the newspaper accounts were pretty grisly. And it was just like, how do you really put this content out there for consumers to digest, so to speak, without totally freaking them out? And
I remember reading about this case when it first happened back in 2002 was when it was discovered. And a lot of the newspapers left out the detail that we left out because they couldn't quite. There was no way to explain it without being pretty, graphic. So a lot of the newspapers left that out, and it wasn't until a few years later when the internet sites and the graphic started reporting it that people realised actually what went down. But yes, we did have to cut a good 1,000 words or so regarding a certain. We should probably put a warning up for anyone. This case involves some of the most terrific shit you could imagine. It's got cannibalism, castration, murder, dismemberment, mutilation. So should put a warning up, I think, just in case anyone's got a queasy stomach.
Well, we won't get into too much of the hardcore details, but actually I did look up one of the newspaper accounts, and it did detail in considerable detail. So yeah, it was a legitimate newspaper. It wasn't like some dodgy internet site.
It happened, or was it recent?
Oh, I can't remember, but when I do my fact checking, as I do, and I go and try to make sure everybody's put in there what's correct, and I did run into quite a bit of detail.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But yeah, you probably hated me for saying, Joe, get the scissors.
It was the best part as well. It was like that part of it would have attracted readers that wouldn't have liked the rest of the story. I mean, you would have got the the torture porn hounds as well. But
yeah, I
understand it's family friendly sometimes, so you have to tone it down, don't you? It has to be a little PG.
Hey, listen, the book is already a big hit at the federal penitentiary, so let's see.
I realised something the other day. You might want to save it till the end, but a friend of, well, I say a friend, I don't really like him. He's a murderabilia collector. I don't know if you ever heard of murderabilia. It's people who collect like paintings and artifacts from famous crimes. He read this book and he found out that this house was still up. And he went there and he raided it and he stole everything from there. So it's had a kind of reverse effect of what I wanted to happen, to be honest. And if you look at it, I'll link it to you after this chat. There's a website where all the stuff from this guy's house is now for sale. Yeah.
Wow. That's because I mean, the whole point of how you wrote this story, which is something that I particularly liked and gave, I'd like to encourage people, if they had some sort of a connection to a case, to definitely get in touch. But you sort of serve as a macabre tour guide for this particular case. You actually went to the location, and what's so incredible about the story is how you visit room by room, and you chronicle what occurred in the room, and you chronicle your impressions. And I think that is just such a powerful way to portray the story, rather than just telling the story, or rehashing it.
Yeah. Well, it was I didn't know this house. See, the way I got there was I worked for a magazine in the UK called Real Crime. And they were the ones that said to me, I was shooting ideas with the editor, and he said, "Do you know about the German cannibal?" That's his colloquial name. And I said, "Yeah." And he said, "Did you know his house is still standing up in Germany?" And I didn't know at the time. I thought it had been seized by the council or family members or whatever. And so I looked into it, and that's how I found it was still standing. And then I realised I've got to visit this place, because it's kind of like. It's like an open air museum, really. It's like a real life museum where everything was, and everything that I read said it was still mostly intact. Like it hadn't been completely torn down or vandalised, or we'd have squatters in it. So I thought, I've got to see this place. So I convinced them to send me to Frankfurt to see this house. And that's how I got there.
See, people usually go to Marbella, and you go to the cannibal's house in Backwoods, Germany.
You can go to Hawaii instead, or something macabre happened there. Now, I'll think about that next time. Well, the magazine's gone out of business now, so I can't do that anymore. Yeah, my article actually never got in there because they went out of business before I managed to write it. So
I
managed to give it to you instead.
Oh, well, that's good. Yeah, this is why you never throw anything away, because you just don't know when you can use it.
Yeah. There you go. But no, that's how I found out this place, because it's quite a secret, really, that people don't know that this house still exists. People assume that someone else has moved in or whatever. It's just been abandoned for 20 years.
Yeah. Well, people do go and buy homes that are, that were inhabited by, where mass murders took place, although they discount them, but I'm not even sure I'd want it at a discount,
Would you not? Oh, I would totally live in a murderer's house because they knock like 50 grand off or something. I think that's a good way to buy real estate.
Yeah, I suppose. In today's market, I guess if there's a bargain,
Yeah. Well, I thought this house, like, I'm not exaggerating when I say it is a mansion. There's something like 40 odd rooms in there,
wow.
20 odd bedrooms. It's easy to get lost in there. And it must be worth, if that was in my city, it'd be worth about £5 million. Not even exaggerating. So I really don't know why no one has ever done anything about it. And maybe there's some legal issue about why they can't, but I don't know.
Yeah, that could well be. I give us a bit of a snapshot of the area. Now, you mentioned that this is pretty remote. It's a rather remote property, and it's almost like a village inside of a town.
Yeah, so it's see, where I got that, I went to Frankfurt, and then I got trained to a town called Rottenburg, which is a normal everyday hustling town. And then about I want to say about 10 miles out of Rottenburg, I had to drive there, is this little small town called Worsterfeld, where Armin's house was. And when people say like the world is like 40% forest and countryside, and you don't really believe it, that you can't really imagine what it's like. But when you're going through there, you really can believe that the world is a hell of a lot of forest and countryside, because it just never seems to end. It's like you enter it and you think, oh, it can't be far from here. There'll be a little village they'll turn off into, and you just keep going through. And the trees just got like thicker, and it got real dark inside. And I must have been driving for miles before I started thinking, I must have missed this turning. This village is going to be somewhere back there, and it's not. And you have to just keep on going through. It's scarily isolated. And when I did finally get to sort of a sign of life, there was one little sign that said Worsterfeld, 2 miles up. And when you imagine a village, you imagine like some shops, a row of houses, a pond, a park, or something like that. But it really is just, I think it was 7 houses that's in this little village in the middle of nowhere. They're all huge mansions, obviously, and they're all farmhouses, and the surrounding houses were actually farms with livestock on there and stuff. Yeah, it was scarily isolated, is what I want to say.
Sort of fits the protagonist here, the killer. Tell us a bit about Armin, and I'm not going to even try to pronounce his last name, but I don't know if you're German.
Mivers, because in Germany they pronounce W's as V's. So it's Armin Mivers. Yeah. Armin Mivers. Background on Armin is he was born in this house where I visited, and he stayed there all of his life. See, whether this is a product of his environment, it could be, because he had a very overbearing mother. He had a couple of brothers, and his whole life was he was devoted to his mom, and they lived together in this farmhouse, and that was and that, I think that deeply affected his outlook and his psychosis in later life. He as a teenager, Armin he noticed the other farms on his estate. He noticed he was quite interested in the butchery of the animals, and he kind of developed a fascination with butchering carcasses. And he started with animals, and then over time, you see this a lot in, say, cannibals, is that they're all it starts off as a sense of loneliness, like the act of actually eating flesh. It's kind of a way to appease their loneliness. Like they literally want a part of someone else inside them. Like you see this with Albert Fish and Ed Gein and Jeffrey Dahmer, famous cannibals that were all incredibly lonely, and they wanted to consume someone to be with them all the time. And that was what set in with Armin as a teenager. So eventually his psychosis developed, and he moved on from being obsessed with animal butchery to human butchery, because he had a compulsion to consume human meat to appease his loneliness inside. And then so in around the late 90s, Armin at this point was in his 40s, and he still lived with his mom. He worked as a computer engineer in Frankfurt. And in the late 90s, 1999, his mother passed away. So for like the first time in his life, this 42-year-old man was kind of free. He could do what he wanted. He didn't have anyone to make him do chores, and even though he was an adult, his mother still treated him like he was a child. So he kind of he went a little bit crazy. He could do whatever he wanted. It was like first time a teenager goes off to university or something like that. And that was when he started to really indulge his fetish for cannibalism. And he went online and he started searching around for someone to come to his house to be eaten. Now, you'd think that nobody would ever respond to anything like that. You think it was just a joke.
Yeah.
But he got a response. Well, he got quite a lot of responses, actually. He got about 400 responses. 399 of them were fake. Well, not fake, but they were cannibalist fantasists.
To
talk about it. And say about 3 of them were genuine. And one of them ended up being the person who I assume we'll talk about in a while.
It's hard to believe that this, I mean, even if they were fantasists, that this would even be something someone would even fantasize about. I mean, I know there's lots of kinks out there, but this is pretty extreme stuff.
The website where he met this other person is still up today. It's still a thing, and people are still on there. I'll link it. It's called the Cannibal Cap. I'll link it to you after this. Yeah.
Don't think I want that on my history.
Yeah, exactly. He didn't either. But no,
these days, you got to watch out what's on your history. You never know.
So use a VPN. No,
yeah, for true crime writers, we're all kind of like, the kind of stuff we can possibly find on our.
If I was ever framed for murder, I'd be screwed, because you can see stuff searching for like research or whatever. Then I'd be like, well, this is the guy. So, it's quite worrying, really. But no, I'll link it to you after this. It's still up, and people still post there daily about the same thing that Armin did. But again, probably 99% of them just want to talk about it to someone else. Then they're not actually looking for someone to
literally do it.
Be eaten by them, yeah.
Man, that's just crazy. Before we get into a bit about his victim and how that all happened, how did it actually feel being there? I mean, you knew about the case already, and then you're actually, I mean, I know how it was like to get there, but being inside that house, was it sort of like you almost can hear from ghosts from, you know what I mean?
Yeah, it didn't help that the house is very Victorian in design. It was kind of like, well, first of all, the first floor had been completely burnt out. Someone had started a fire there. We don't know why, whether it was related to Armin or not, I don't know. So the first floor is mostly all black, but you can still tell by the furniture's all still there, and the tables and the cabinets and stuff. It's all like something from the 1920s, which was when Armin's mother was born. And they kept it in that design right up until the last day. So it's very much like walking back into a time capsule into a previous century. Basically, it was very strange. It was like going into a museum. It was. I don't want to say it was scary as such, because there were lots of open doors. Like all the doors had fallen off and all the windows had broke. So there was always like an escape. So that was kind of. That was a bit of reassurance, There's no cannibal ghosts in there. But that was but no, it had this strange smell as well. It sort of smelled like, when you go in the attic, in the loft, after like years, every Christmas you go to the loft and it smells like damp and just air, and it's just this horrible smell. It was like that all the way through. But yeah, it was strange. I wasn't scared as such. I weren't worried about anyone catching me. Although apparently the neighbours up on the road, they do keep an eye out for trespassers. So that was one thing. But No, it was a pleasant experience. Really, it wasn't grimy or anything like that. It was very enjoyable, and I liked it. I didn't want to leave, to be honest. It was nice and quiet. Got me away from my 2-year-old, so it was. I would have happily set up camp there for a few weeks, I think.
Did you go by yourself? Were you by yourself?
Yeah. No, I went by myself. Yeah, didn't want to drag anyone else there.
No, not a trip for the wife and kids, eh?
No, exactly,
Family holiday.
Well, my son would have loved that place. Ironically, he would have been up and down the stairs and everything. But no, it was a back in its day. It would have been a very nice place to live. It was a lovely farmhouse. I could have happily set up camp there. But of course, it's tainted by this murder now. So.
Yeah. Well, it's rather interesting, this sort of, when you were talking about Armin and his relationship and his overbearing mother, of course, we all think Norman Bates, the iconic Norman Bates, but it's interesting how many, for instance, even serial killers do kind of follow that Norman Bates prototype.
Mm. Actually, yeah, I didn't even think of Norman Bates, actually. I suppose it's kind of, it fits because Norman Bates was based on Ed Gein, who also had a very overbearing mother. And there's a lot of similarities between Ed Gein and Armin Meiwes. They were both cannibals. They both kept their houses in. Actually, I didn't even make that connection. They both kept their houses exactly as they did when their mothers died, and they both desperately tried to reanimate their mothers in a way. So yeah, I didn't even make that connection until you just mentioned it. Yeah.
Oh, that's just really creepy. Well, as far as so he sort of hit it lucky, and he found a candidate who was absolutely 100% serious about going through with his scheme, right?
Mm-hmm. He had 3 candidates in total, 3 people who came to his house to eat. The idea was that they were coming to be eaten, but the first 2, they backed out at the last moment. Armin had them on his slaughter table, ready to chop up. And they backed out at the last moment. And what's interesting there is that he didn't try and talk them into it or anything. He just said,
force them or just do it because he had the power to do it.
Yeah, he said, fine, just go. He let them go.
Yeah.
Usually, if that was a proper serial killer or whatever, they would have just killed them. But Armin said, no, he just go, because what was important to him was, like I said, the loneliness. He wanted someone to consent to this murder. He didn't want to kill an unwilling victim because it was like he was consuming someone who wouldn't want to be his friend. So he had to have someone that said, yes, you may do what you want to me. So if they showed any hesitation at all, then he would let them go. And that happened twice until Bernd arrived on the scene.
It's actually amazing. I mean, I was quite surprised by that as well, about that, how consent to him it was a sacred thing, and he was not going to just do it because he had the opportunity to do it. And that's sort of unusual for any type of murderer, that is, decides to murder. Is, normally, you've got the opportunity, you got the victim, and they're there vulnerable, and you're going to do it. But that he was not going through with that.
No, absolutely
it's
not.
Sort of an integrity of a sort.
Exactly, yeah. So that raises a lot of questions about the moral aspects of it. Was he okay to do what he did because he had a willing victim? Should he be imprisoned for life because of that? So there's a lot of questions that come off this aspect of the crime.
Well, that's what I was thinking as well. In a rather twisted way, it's almost a victimless crime, because a victim is someone who is, victim means victim, and this person who came over to be slaughtered, so to speak, this is what he wanted to do. So
that was one of the questions around the trial at the time, which we'll come to in a moment. But there are arguably some aspects where he did not consider the moral implications of what he was doing in a way. But we'll come to that at the end, because that's the question for what happened at the end of the night.
Yeah. Tell us a bit about the gentleman that ultimately did become his victim. He was sort of a educated city chap, if I'm correct.
He was from Berlin. His name was Bernd Brandes. I think I'm pronouncing that right. I always struggle with the German D's and T's. Bernd Brandes. He was also 42 years old. He was an engineer over in Berlin, which is about 50 miles away from Armin. He made a lot of money. He was a successful individual. He was homosexual. He had a boyfriend, a long-term boyfriend, but he had incredibly low self-esteem. He would often visit prostitutes in Germany, and he had a crippling obsession with. This is where we're going to get nasty. And he watches, by the way. He had a crippling obsession with. He wanted to be castrated. He wanted to have someone remove his genitals, whether it be through being bitten off or being sawn off with a knife. That was for whatever reason he was obsessed with this idea of being castrated by someone. I can't even begin to fathom the mental issues of someone like that. He's obviously not a healthy person. He obviously got some crippling anxiety or low self-esteem or self-doubt or whatever it might be. And on occasion, he would ask these prostitutes that he visited in Berlin to remove his genitals for him, usually while they were, in the act of love. They all said no, because that's ridiculous. Even though he offered them a lot of, like $10,000 or something to do it for him, they always said no. And yeah, that was Bernd's life up until he found Armin's advertisement on the Cannibal Calf for someone to go to his farmhouse in Westervelt and be eaten. And to Bernd, that was the best thing that could happen. That was they were a perfect match, really. Bernd wanted to be well. In fact, Bernd wanted more than to be castrated. He wanted to be, in his own words, he wanted to be completely consumed by someone else. Again, I can't even begin to imagine what this fantasy must be like in someone's head, how it even begins to take hold and how it even works. But he wanted to be killed and eaten by someone. There's all questions about how do you even know that you're being eaten and stuff. But yeah, that's where we are.
It sounds like, I'm not a psychologist or psychiatrist, and I can't really assess this, but it sounds as if he must have had some sort of a self-loathing to want to go to that extreme. I mean, even the whole thing about wanting to be castrated. I mean, obviously, if that happens, like, that's it. There's not going to be any more fun after that because it's all gone.
It's done, yeah.
It's pretty final.
Yeah. I can only imagine that he had, like you say, some sort of crippling self-doubt about who he was just very insecure. Yeah, but like I say, it would take the world's best psychologist to kind of get into his mind and figure out why this fantasy even exists in the first place. But say maybe the whole cannibalism act is a kind of a proxy for being killed. Like he wanted to die, and he wanted to do it in a way that would appease someone else. And through whatever reason, this is how it, maybe manifested.
Yeah. How did Armin finally get caught? I mean, if your victim comes over, I'm sure that he didn't announce to his boyfriend, "Hey, I'm going to this cannibal's house and I won't see you anymore." So I mean, how did this all get connected up that there was a victim? There was an actual victim.
The way it happened was, Bernd he didn't want his long-term boyfriend to know where he was going, so he left. Bernd knew he was going to die that night, so he left a will for his boyfriend to find. He left it hidden in a drawer so that his boyfriend would find it one day, but not immediately. But no, I'd say Bernd, he didn't want anyone to know how he'd gone. He just wanted people to know that he'd died. So it was only when Armin was after the act itself, he was bragging online, and he went back onto the Cannibal Calf, and Armin told everyone what he'd done, and of course everyone just thought he was joking. Everyone thought he was just another fantasist. And then he posted clips from the video that he'd made of the slaughter, and people started realizing that he was serious. So someone got talking to him under the someone got talking to him, one of the guys of Armin doing this again. See, Armin is advertising for more victims.
Oh,
and this guy offered himself as a ruse to kind of get Armin to open up about what he'd done. And once he did, this anonymous person called the German police on Armin and said, "Look, we've got all this evidence here. We've got these clips. This guy is saying that he murdered someone," and then they linked 2 and 2 together with Burnt in Berlin, and that's how they caught him.
So I guess once wasn't enough. Hey, do you want some water?
I've got something. Yeah, I don't know what's happening. I've been talking too much.
So I suppose it wasn't going to appease him just having one victim if he was actually soliciting to find more victims after that.
So Armin killed Burnt in March 2001, but it wasn't until late 2002 when he started looking for more people. So it kind of appeased him for a year, 18 months or so. But yeah, so with a compulsion as strong as what Armin had, it's not surprising that he started to look for someone else. It's it's like drugs, I suppose. It's not something you wouldn't do heroin just once. If you did it, you'd probably want to do it several times, and that's how it happened. Yeah, he wanted to find more, but he didn't have any luck the second time round.
Well, not to make light of it, but I mean, we have to sort of retain one sense of humor when it comes to true crime. But he literally his fridge became bare as well, right?
His fridge became what?
His refrigerator became bare after a while.
Quite literally. Well, yeah, what he did. So one part of this case that's very famous is the fridge that he stored Burnt's body in. He carved it all up, put it in the fridge. And there, if you look at the crime scene photos online, you see parts of Burnt's body in the fridge. So it did quite literally become bare. Yeah, and I saw that fridge there. That's the first thing you see when you go in is the fridge. And that fridge is now for sale on a website. If you want to buy it for $60,000.
Oh.
Yeah, I'll link it to you after this. It's ridiculous.
I'm sure someone will buy it. I mean, I don't know. I wouldn't, I wouldn't want that in my house.
I really hope no one that buys that. It's just sad. No one should profit from this crime.
No, absolutely.
Wasn't even involved. Yeah.
Wait, well, to mention, because there was something in a way again about this sort of macabre humor, but you said that he would take bits of his victim to work for lunch.
He used to make meatballs from his legs, and he would put them in his sandwich box.
Oh God, I hope he didn't offer like around the office. Would you like to share my?
Have you ever seen Hannibal when he's on the plane and he's got that guy's brain and he gives it to the kid? That's what I was imagining when I was reading that. See,
this is it. Truth is stranger than fiction. It really is. I mean, yeah, everyone freaked out about Hannibal Lecter, but this guy's real. This guy is for real.
Yeah. He used to make lasagnas and meatballs and everything that he could.
Oh man.
On that website, there were like recipes for the best choice cuts of meat for the best recipes that you can have. And I think most people are like joking when they say it, but Armin took it all very seriously.
Oh, apparently.
Guidance to the nth degree.
All I needed was the fava beans, right?
Fava beans are a nice Chianti as well. Well, funnily enough, when the day that he met Burnt in 9th of March 2001, he went to the shops beforehand and got some wine and potatoes and vegetables. Because apparently, human meat's not no good on its own. You've got to have it seasoned with garlic and stuff.
Oh God.
Strange.
See, I'm glad to say that I don't eat meat anymore of any kind.
Yeah. not even human meat anymore.
Any kind, no. It's like, oh man, oh God. So as far as the trial was concerned, did he actually have any kind of defense?
Yeah, and the defense was that Burnt was happy to let it all happen because he was. That was absolutely true. But if we're talking about we've gone past the crime part of the whole incident here, how it all went down. But at the time, should we go into gruesome detail or shall we avoid it? What do you think?
Is this the one where you said that you had to keep crossing your legs during the writing of the piece?
Yes.
Oh, what the
Yes,
hell? We
done.
got some really funny comments on here. People are getting into it, so go for
Okay.
it.
Oh, I can't see them. Okay. Well, what happened was on the night that it all went down, Bernd came over to Armin's house. And to Armin's surprise, Bernd was very willing to get things going. He was very eager to get down to business. So their first point of call was to make love upstairs, and they did. And during that event, that was when Bernd asked Armin to do the thing he wanted to do and chop off his genitals. Armin couldn't do it because he was apparently too rubbery. So, but he said, "I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it." So he got a knife. He got a butcher's knife from the kitchen, and he did it. And he chopped off his winky, as my son would say. And then Armin assumed at this point. See, Armin didn't want to kill him at all. He in his later prison interviews, he said he really wasn't looking forward to the act of killing, however it would take place, whether it was via castration or any other method. He said he didn't want to die early, he just wanted the meat to cut up. But of course, the killing was he had to go through the killing to get to that part. So Armin was praying that the castration alone would kill Brandes, but it didn't. He bled for like 8 hours, and he had to put him in the bath. Armin kept on checking on him every half an hour, and he would just not die. So after a while, Armin decided to just slit Bernd's throat. So he did. That was how he killed him. Now that was the point of the crime where all of the what's the word? Where things could have been different. Like Armin could have, if he wasn't dead after 8 hours of blood loss, chances are he was probably going to survive.
Mm-hmm.
So at that point, if Armin had called for help while Bernd was in the bath, things would have gone much differently. Armin wouldn't have been a murderer, and Bernd would have lived. So that was the whole. That was where the issues were in the legal proceedings, and because of that, that was what eventually gave Armin a life sentence. At first, he was given a manslaughter charge for 8 years, which meant he would have been out of prison in about 2010. But that was overturned because of the family of Bernd appealed it, and they changed it to a life sentence because they argued that if Armin hadn't operated in the interest of self-interest, he could have saved Bernd's life when he was bleeding out, but he didn't. He carried on for his own selfish reasons to kill him. So that was what awarded him the murder charge and the life sentence.
Yeah. Well, so like that's interesting. Even to be honest, even the manslaughter charge in the first place is sort of ridiculous. But we have seen many ridiculous.
It's odd. I mean, I don't know how to feel. It's like, should he be released now? Should he stay in prison forever? It's a real tough question because it's not like any other case. There's a lot of weird circumstantial things about it.
Well, I read that he might be released. I think about I remember emailing you about that maybe shortly after the book came out, that I'd seen something in the German press that
he goes for walks. They take him for walks.
Yeah, he goes for walks.
Like a
Nice.
little dog, like a cannibal dog. I could see him getting out of prison one day. I think he's they probably see him as a wasted slot, really. They probably think he's, what's the point of keeping this guy in there? Because he's pushing, he'll be 65, or, I think he's about 65 now. What harm could he do? He hasn't been able to address these cannibalistic urges for 20 years now. Is he still a threat? I don't know.
Well, I mean, you could also say, is he a threat to society in general when he was basically not like pulling victims off the street, but he was advertising for victims who were 100% spot on, ready to go. So, I mean, it's
really odd. I don't know. When you could ask me, on different days say different things. He should be in prison for life. He should be released. I don't know. It's an impossible question, really.
One would wonder as well if he would have his identity changed, because it's like, do you want Armin as your next door neighbor? I don't think I do.
Yeah, no, so you couldn't not recognize him. Have you seen his face? He's got the most recognizable German face I've ever seen. It's just like that square jaw, massive teeth. It's like you could easily tell.
Massive teeth. Oh God, that just sort of.
He looks like a cannibal. If I was going to write the description of a cannibal, I'd describe him. He's an archetypal man-eater. It's very bizarre.
You wonder perhaps if he was predisposed, if there's some gene there that maybe
cannibal gene,
yeah.
Could believe it. Yeah.
Well, there's genes for everything. Why not a cannibal gene? I suppose there's somebody needs to study this.
True that, yeah. It's a branch of science they've not looked into yet, I don't think.
Oh, man.
People in COVID to look at the cannibals.
Well, this has certainly been a fun wrap up to the best new true crime stories, small towns. That's a fact. Well, let me ask you before we leave. Do you have anything interesting in the pipeline you'd like to tell us about? Any new projects?
I do, but I can't tell anyone about it. That's the problem. I'll have to sign an agreement. It's going to be on TV, so I've had to. Do you remember my old friend Daniel LaPlante? We don't remember him, do you? We were going to do in your first book. I was going to write about this guy. He was a stalker, and he lived in some walls, and he stalked these girls.
Oh yes, yes.
Yeah. See, I'm like linked with that case for some reason. I've accidentally stumbled upon a lot of information about that case that's not revealed to the world. So I'm working with this documentary crew to make a documentary about the whole thing. But I should have told you that, really. I think I've just violated my my contract there. But that's what I'm.
No, we didn't hear it. We didn't hear it. Well, you're not saying who it is, so it's It's
fine. It's fine. No, that's what I'm working on. I've got a few books as well going through, but yeah, that's me. What about you? What are you working on?
Well, we have to say the most important thing of all is that you're going to be in book 4, which is my next book, not the one in June. The one in June, since I'm here, I'm gonna plug it, is The Best New True Crime Stories, Well-Mannered Crooks, Rogues, and Criminals. Out in June, July in the UK. But Joe's not in that one. Joe is in the. No, you're in the next one, which is The Best New True Crime Stories, Crimes of Passion, Obsession, and Revenge. And that is out August, September. So that's an exciting bit of news. You've got a really, yeah, you get a cool piece in that one.
Oh, I can't wait for that one.
Yeah, I'll have you back on if I haven't run out of steam for Facebook Live.
Yeah, that sounds good to me.
Yeah. So, well, I'm really glad you were able to come on, and we certainly have some fun comments here. So I guess we didn't freak everyone out.
See them.
You don't see them? Oh, yeah, you'll see them if you go to my page. They'll show up there under the video, but I guess that's because they show up here on my little dashboard. Someone says Uber Eats for cannibals. Someone else says new meaning for I could just eat you up.
Fair enough. Hang on 1 second. Is it my friends being
No, I think I think they're some of Teddy's friends.
Oh, I think there's some notification on top of my phone. I think my friends are calling me bald. So that's what happens.
Well, I don't see those comments. I don't see anybody calling you bald.
Oh, I can see my friends slagging me off in my chat group at the top. I think they're watching me and just calling me a bald prick or something like that. So for years I've had this. That's to them.
Yeah, I give the 2 finger salute. That'll do. Teach them a lesson. Teach them a lesson. Take them to Armin's house on a tour and leave them there.
Yeah, you would. Yeah.
Well, thanks so much. I've been speaking with Joe Turner in the UK, and he wrote a rather fascinating and macabre story called In the Home of the Cannibal. And this is the book, yes. And hopefully I'll see you again when book 4 is out and I start going through that list of people.
Yes, let's do it.
Yeah, let's do it. I think, yeah, that's not as grisly as this one, but though it is rather grisly. I think Joe, somebody once commented on someone did a review, I think, because your first story in my serial killers book is pretty out there as well. And they said, Joe Turner must be stopped. You remember that?
Oh.
Yeah, you get a review or something. Joe Turner must be stopped.
Must be a stalker or something.
I don't know. I think it's on Amazon. I think it's on Amazon, maybe with for one of the reviews for the serial killers book. Yeah, go. Yeah, see, I thought it was hysterically funny.
I remember when my first book came out, my solo book, my fiction book, there was a review the day it came out saying this author is an asshole. Like. I didn't know who it was or anything. So
a competing writer, it's always usually one.
So it's always just someone who knows me, who doesn't like me, just slagging me off. So yeah.
Hey, listen, I can top that. I can top that. The Well-Mannered book, which is not out yet, and which has not gone to any reviewers, it has not been sent anywhere, has a 3-star review on Goodreads. And I actually contacted Goodreads and I said, excuse me, but would you please explain how a book is being reviewed that is not even possible for anyone to have a copy of?
Is it? Could it be like rival promoters trying
I don't know, but it shows the integrity of so-called customer reviews when you can review a book that you couldn't possibly have ever seen.
Yeah, that's ridiculous. Did they remove it?
Sorry, no, no, they said, well, we can't really do anything about the review. We'll contact the person and it's up to them to remove it. I'm thinking like,
that takes the piss.
What a load of bollocks.
That is ridiculous.
Yeah.
Hazards of the job, I guess.
Well, that's what I say, beware of reviews that are like really, really bad, because there might be some agenda behind them. Because I mean, look, not every book is brilliant, but a 1-star, if somebody has a 1-star review, I'd say kind of look a little bit like, I'm not sure about that.
That's my excuse, and I'm sticking to it.
Yeah. Oh, well, thanks again, Joe, for being on, and we had a good time.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Okay, and take care and stay well, and I'll see you again soon.
Probably see you in a few months.
Yes. Okay.
Yeah, speak soon.
Bye.
Bye-bye.